Hi, welcome to BAI 210 for the fall of 2023. I'm Professor Deshanes, and I will be your instructor for Managerial Statistics 1. I have spent a bunch of time this summer totally revamping this course, and I'm hoping that you will find it accessible and engaging and set up in a way for you to really be able to connect with it and learn from it. I would like to take this video to sort of introduce you a little bit to what we're going to be talking about in our course and some of the stuff that I would like you to look at and do prior to the beginning of the semester. So I am going to be lecturing in class using Top Hat. I know a bunch of you already have used Top Hat. You'll be getting an email to either set yourself up for the semester or to set up for the first time. And Top Hat is a platform that will enable me to give you lectures via PowerPoints and kind of intersperse it with questions. So look out for that email from Top Hat. And that's going to be $28 for the semester. And what is nice is the University of Rhode Island has set up a contract with Top Hat. So if you get it for one class, you get it for any class for that semester. So if you have any other classes using Top Hat, there's no additional fees for using Top Hat for multiple classes. Okay, so given that, I wanted to kind of tell you a little bit about myself and tell you a little bit about the course and where to find information. So as most of your classes are, it's going to be based on Brightspace. But before I jump into that, let me just briefly introduce myself. I'll be meeting you, of course, the first day of class. I can tell you that I come from a background working in industry as a statistician in drug development. I got to work with these amazing teams of people at Pfizer, and then as a consultant, I worked for a whole bunch of small drug development companies. And in all of them, what I really found exciting was the commitment to helping people that everybody sort of brought with them, and our desire to do that with excellence. So I want to hopefully give you the tools for your career, for whatever you do, that you're able to do it with excellence and confidence that what you're doing is correct. So I know a lot of you probably feel hesitation about taking statistics. It is one of the courses amongst several in the College of Business that I know are often viewed as a little more challenging. And I want to really encourage you that if you really engage and commit to working with me, you can do this. You can get through this course. You can learn these skills. The skills themselves are easier in some ways than what you did in BAI 111. They just have like more steps to them. But as far as like wrapping your brain around them, there's really only one big topic that is kind of takes a little absorption, and that is hypothesis testing. So I'm going to try to structure this course so that you really get the all the basic ideas and foundational knowledge and statistics. And we're going to have to tackle that hypothesis testing topic. So I'm going to hopefully give you as much as I can to help you through that and really get it. Now I want to give you a walkthrough as to the different platforms you're going to see in our class. Oh, the other thing is, I want to tell you that I am here to help you. I want you to learn. I really want you to get this. My goal, if I could make it possible, is that every one of you would do extremely well in this course and walk away with a solid knowledge of statistics. It is not going to be the kind of course that you can kind of say, oh, I'm just checking, checkbox exercise. I want to let you know that what you learn in this class is foundational to every area of business and will carry you. And even if you decide to leave business, it's foundational to every area of every discipline across the campus. So it is really foundational knowledge that you're getting, and it will be with you in your own personal life and whatever you do. And I really want to encourage you to really get this and learn this material, because it's really going to benefit you in anything that you do. And so with that, let's go ahead and do this walkthrough. So let me share my screen. The first screen I want to show you is going to be what the Top Hat looks like. So when you log on to Top Hat as a student, what you're going to see is a screen like this. I believe it's going to start with the classroom, and it will say basically no slides are being presented. But over here under Assign, you'll see that I have already assigned you some pre-work. So the first pre-work assignment is where you just write in here your responses for about yourself. Just tell us about yourself and what motivates you, what career path you envision at this point. It's okay to say, I don't really know. And how you see currently, what's your understanding of how statistics plays a part of that? Okay, then the second part, and I believe I'm almost 100% sure that is set up with no points. I would really like you to do it. I'd like to know about you. I think your classmates would also like to know about who you are. And then the next thing is the syllabus. And so the syllabus is online, and I would like you to go through it. It is interspersed with questions for you to answer, and you will get credit for these. You have unlimited attempts. But the basic idea here is there's a lot of material to have to kind of slog your way through, in a sense, for how a course works. And it's really important you understand that for all your classes. And so I kind of set it up this way as a way to sort of interactively have you go through that, rather than try to give you a handout, that just looks like a lot of stuff you have to read that maybe feels like a little too much. Okay, so that's what that looks like. So then the next thing I wanted to talk about in this walkthrough is our Brightspace page. I will be opening this up and allowing. So by the time you get this video from me, this page will now be open to you, and it will be available for both sections. So in the content tab up here is where you're going to find a lot of information about our course. Over here on the left, if you are not familiar with Brightspace, is where you kind of have the top folder structure, what are called modules. And if you click on any of these modules, you'll get sometimes sub-modules that contain also information. And I'm organizing the material for our course in two ways. There's going to be the exam 1 material, exam 2 material, and then the final exam material. So it's kind of broken down by what each exam covers. But then I'm also going to have some weekly to-do lists that will kind of guide you chronologically. In addition, in this course information module, there's a bunch of information here I'd like you to go through. But in here, there's a copy of the syllabus, a paper copy. It's not going to be as interesting, and if you will, as the one in Top Hat. There's also this topic list and exam groupings. So this is kind of a great way to start a review sheet for an exam. It kind of lists the topics that I cover and in what order I cover them. And you can kind of go through this and then use that to be the kind of like checklist, if you will, for an exam. Like, oh, do you know this? Do you know this? Do you know this? And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more here in a second. But this is a great way to get that idea. As you'll notice, this goes chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 1, chapter 6, and chapter 7. So I really like the textbook we're using for our course. I think it's got a great development of the concepts. What I don't like is the order that it's in. And the reason is, I understand the reason for the order. The order was put together to sort of kind of go through each topic and then kind of branch off. Like, you can think of statistics as a tree. So there's the main core trunk, and then there's branches. So the way the book is set up is sort of to first give you like this high level overview of the tree, and then start up the trunk. And every time you hit a branch, kind of go out on that branch a little bit and then keep going up the trunk, hit a branch, hit a branch. And I think that that can be really confusing if you've never learned statistics before. And it's the way I've taught it in the past. So I've kind of revised this, and I want to really kind of focus in on what you really need to know up front. And then we'll come back later and add in some of the branches. So the approach I'm taking is really to lead us up the trunk and just what is basic statistics, and just build from there what you need to know. And we're going to start with numerical data because that's really what most people in their minds are thinking statistics. That's usually what they're thinking. And I want to just build from a place where you may already be comfortable and just build from that. And then we'll come back later and we'll add in some of the branches and some of the different nuances as we go. So that's the approach I'm taking with the textbook, and that's why things are a little bit out of order from just following it chapter by chapter. You may find also that I'm not doing everything in the book as you read through this, and the reason for that is there's just so many branches and statistics. You could just, in a sense, get lost in the tree, So I don't want you to feel lost in the tree. I want you to be on that main trunk and you know what that main trunk is. And I want to add in stuff as needed. Everything in this course is considered foundational and is important for other courses. So it's not like I can just drop stuff totally, but I'm only really want to focus on what I know that you'll use and you'll need. Okay, so going back to Brightspace again, besides that topics list, so how this course works is going to be kind of a summary of what I'm talking about today with you, so you can have it in writing if you want. And then there's this weekly schedule, which is a Excel kind of calendar, and it's week by week. It's Monday to Friday, and then I skip Saturday. So Saturday is your day of rest, and you can. I never make anything due on Saturday, so I have this out here with Sunday as being possibly some things are due on Sunday. All right, so you can look through this, and it just kind of steps you through the semester and how I plan to lay things out for you. It may change a little bit. We'll see. Okay. There's some technology requirements. Basically, you need a laptop, and you need to have Office 365 on that laptop. You need to bring it to class. I recommend a Windows operating system for most things you do in business. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been told or somehow got the wrong impression that a Mac is better. You can use a Mac, but if you are in that place where you're deciding what your laptop is going to be, I would go with a Windows operating system. It works better with all the Microsoft software. So there's actually sort of a market war going on between the Apple world, and the Microsoft. And so they sometimes don't always play super nice with each other. They try to always collaborate because they know that people are working in one or the other. It's just things work just a little smoother in that way, but it's not a problem if you have a Mac. And Macs are great for anything like video editing or graphics. So it just kind of depends what you really need it for. And we have now gotten used to how to work with Macs. All right, so next up, how to document class absence. So this is one of the things I wanted to go over with you. If you go up to the assignments tab, you'll see in here that there's a procedure for documenting excused absence and getting class notes. So this procedure has 2 steps. The first step in here is going to this attachment, and this is a Google Sheet that you have the ability to edit. So I wanted to give you an example of how you would do that. So let's say I know I'm going to miss class and I have an excused absence. Maybe I'm an athlete and I have a university sanctioned sport. So I would go up here to row 4 and I would insert one row above. And then here I would put my name. And then I would put my email. And I would put what section I was in. Let's say I was in section 1. And I would put the date I know I'm going to miss. So let's say I know I'm going to miss on September 15th. Then I would come over to September 15th and I would copy my email here. And what this does is it enables me to go ahead and send all the people who have an excused absence and have their name. Oh, and by the way, you can put your stuff in here even if it's an unexcused absence. But I'm going to send to the people who put their email in here any materials that I hand out that day. Okay. The second part of this is if you go into this procedure for documenting, what you want to do is you can add a file. So you would add a file here. And if you have like a flat tire, take a picture of yourself standing next to the flat tire, or if you have a doctor's excuse or whatever it is, that and there's a link here, I believe, to what are excused absences. And I'm a little more flexible than what's in this list. I actually understand that sometimes people's cars break down. I ask you not to schedule dentist or doctor's appointments during our class. And having to work is also not considered an excuse for our class. So if you're committing to our class, it needs to take priority over your work. And you can schedule your doctor's and dental appointments around that. I realize there's some things that cannot be scheduled. So if you, and like for example, obituary, an obituary, if you have to go to a funeral, would be something that would be considered a file that you would add here. Okay, as you read through my syllabus, you'll see that I am going to be giving you 3 free passes for excused absences. So that's just to give you a little flexibility. I know that not everyone is always, I mean, life happens, right? So sometimes we need just a little bit of flexibility. So I'm giving you 3 free passes. I highly recommend you don't use them unless you have to. They're not really meant to go to the beach. They're really meant to help you deal with life. So if you need to use them, I wanted to show you how you would go how you put that into the documentation. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to come in here to the procedure. And then here where you're going to add a file, you can either just write on a piece of paper and upload a photo. You know, you can just upload a photo that says, this is pass 1, this is my second pass, or this is my third pass. That's one way to do it. Another way you can do it is just record an audio. And so down here in the comments, so anyway, to record an audio, you just click on this, and then you can say a new recording, and you can just say, I'm taking my first free pass today, or whatever. And then down here in the comments, just to make it easy for me to see it, you can just say pass, you know, excused absence, free pass number 1, or whatever, like that. Okay. And then when you submit this, what'll happen is you'll get an email confirming it. Okay. So that's under assignments. Let's go back to content. Let's go back. So yeah, so just to review, there were 2 steps for an excused absence. One is the Google Sheet, and the other one is uploading the documentation onto Brightspace. Okay. And then some of this other stuff is stuff that's really helpful for you, not only to get tutoring or academic support. Please let me know with a If you have been diagnosed with a learning disability, please don't try to, I don't know, willpower your way over that. That's a real thing, and it has nothing to do with your intelligence or your capacity in life. Um, School is a very unique environment that kind of has to be set up in certain ways that won't be in the workforce. So I think it's perfectly okay to let me know if you have um, a learning disability situation where you need extra time or whatever. We'll set you up um, with the testing center, and I just need documentation that it's all legit. Okay. Um, there's some stuff in here that I think is very helpful. A lot of people study um, kind of in some less than effective ways. I had my own business tutoring students, and I can tell you that a lot of times it's not about understanding the material as much as how a person is going about trying to understand the material. Okay, there's a little bit on me, not very exciting. And then there's a bereavement policy, which is new as of, I believe, last year. And then COVID guidelines, which I'm trying to link to a website so they stay updated as of now. Hopefully this is just in our past and we don't have to deal with it anymore. Okay, the next thing that I want to show you is the MyLab. So over here, if you notice in the modules at the bottom is MyLab statistics. And if you go in here, it's going to take you to the link that will take you to our MyLab course. And if you link through Brightspace, it's going to make sure that you get your so if you link through Brightspace, it's going to make sure that you get your grades passed back over to Brightspace from MyLab. So the grades that'll be in MyLab will be your quiz grades and your exam grades. Okay. So, oh, and the computer assignments. So by connecting through Brightspace, it kind of like makes sure Brightspace doesn't, yeah, Brightspace and MyLab are talking to each other. Okay, so let's go in and look at the website for our course for in MyLab. All right, so this is how it's going to look like to you. And you can go to the assignment section. And here you'll see that Exam 1, Chapter 2 pretest is already available. So this is something you could get started on. And just to be clear, and as you go through the syllabus, I'll go through clearly explaining how all the different pieces are graded or not graded. There is something really, really useful in MyLab, and that's this study plan. So before I get to that, though, I want to kind of go through this. So you'll see your assignments on the left. On this, it's similar to Brightspace. You have your top folder structure on the left. So assignments, you'll see what's available and open to you. Notice there's no time limit here, and that's because this is not graded and it's available to you at any time. You have your grade book where you can see your MyLab grades. I wouldn't pay that as much attention as stuff in Brightspace because sometimes things are weighted different. So this just kind of shows you what's in MyLab. What you do want to check, though, is to make sure whatever shows up here grade-wise does match what you see in Brightspace for your grades. And if you see anything weird or not showing up, please let me know. I have had students, for whatever reason, have work they did in MyLab not get translated over to Brightspace, and they look like zeros on Brightspace. So if you see anything weird, definitely let me know. StatCrunch is like MyLab's version of Excel. I want us to avoid that. The reason is I know a lot of you are learning Excel for the first time, and I don't want you to get confused and have to learn two different things. So for the most part, we are going to be using Excel. So the e-text is one of the first things I want to get you familiar with. So if you click on e-text, you'll see this view e-text for your course. So if you click on that, you'll get a new browser window. And the new browser window is going to take us through, you can go up here and get to the table of contents and navigate this. There's many different, pretty self-descriptive. I don't need to take a lot of time. I'll let you explore it. But there's a lot of self-descriptive tools there. And if you've taken a course in my lab, you are very familiar with it. What I would recommend is on Brightspace. So let me jump back over to Brightspace. There will be in the table of contents a to-do list, and it will kind of tell you if there's something to skip content-wise when you go into the e-text or what parts of the e-text to read. So let's say we're going to start reading chapter 2. So I do recommend you read through this prior to when I covered in class, or about the same time or whatever. The idea is I am trying to cover the material and kind of follow along with the textbook so you have a reference there. As you go through this, you can actually highlight this and put a new page in, and it'll jump to that page if you happen to know what page you want to go to. But basically, you can go through and read in more detail, perhaps a little more background, a little more in depth, a little more examples than I have time to cover in class. I wish I had time to go as thoroughly as a textbook, but that would take years to go through. Okay, so that's the e-text. And then there's this video and resource library. And in here, if you go into the video and resource library, if you don't leave it as all chapters and all sections and just click video and hit find now, down here there's something that's kind of cool. And that's the Stat Talk videos. And there might be some other videos on different topics as you go through them, but the Stat Talk videos are kind of cool. If you click on that, you'll get a list of videos that were done by Andrew Vickers, who is a statistician, and he just like goes out on the streets of Brooklyn and does statistics on the sidewalk. So it's kind of goofy maybe, but it's less boring than, some other things. And he kind of breaks things down, tries to make them really applicable to real life. So in here, you have to pick, it won't let you filter it, unfortunately, down to what chapter we're on. So you just need to go through and pick like, okay, what is an average? Okay, we're definitely going to be talking about that in chapter 3. Some of these different ideas, you have to kind of read through them. They generally are getting more advanced as you go down the list. So it will follow along with our course in many ways. Okay, so that's where you find those videos. Okay, and the next thing, and I skipped over study plan. So those are the two kind of preps for the course. Study plan is also a prep for the class, and it's part of your ongoing work. So I am not assigning homework that's due, but I am giving you lots and lots of availability of problems and guiding you to what to do. So in the assignment, when you take a pretest, you will go through, and I recommend you don't in any way cheat or guess. This is really trying to ascertain your starting level of knowledge. And how you do on this pretest will modify what's in your study plan. So when you get to the study plan, it will be tailored to your pretest results, and it will enable you to go through and kind of focus without wasting time on things you already know. Focus on where you need to learn. So when you go into this, you'll see there's practice and quiz me. As you go through, if you think you already just need a little more, on the practice, you can decide how much to do or how little to do. And none of this is graded as part of your grade in our semester course. It's really it's self-assessment to give you feedback on how you're doing on the topics. And then the quiz me is gonna give you a quiz-like scenario where you need to go in and basically test yourself, and it'll help guide you through that so you can determine where you're at and if you've mastered it from, sometimes we think we know something and we don't actually know it when we're put in a quiz scenario or an exam scenario. And I want you to excel and succeed in our course. So I want you to have mastery level in these quiz scenarios. Okay, so I want to dig down a little deeper now into these practice questions. And there's a lot of help buried in here, and there's a lot more work available questions if you need them. So I'm going to go into all chapters. I'm just going to select something that I happen to know is going to have enable us to see a lot of the functionality of how the help can work. Let's see if I can find one. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go in here. So notice I went to all chapters, and you can do this at any time and select problems. And notice back here, you'll see there's lots and lots of problem sets. So there's a lot available, especially to get ready and master the topics. So let's say I go in here and I'm going to come down to question, see, I'm on question 8. Okay, great. So this is asking a question, and it's about a topic we're going to get to when we get into that. What I told you was that one area of hypothesis testing that is sort of conceptually, you have to wrap your brain around it. Kind of like when you had to learn what a derivative was. Okay, anyway, so now let's say you're here and you're trying to learn this and you're trying to understand it, and you're kind of, you're going back and forth to the textbook, but you're here on this question and you're not quite sure how to do it. So down here it says, help me solve this. And it'll take you through an example and kind of walk you through so you can practice doing that. Okay, and it's gonna let you try things, and it's gonna want you to do things as you go. Right. That's one way to kind of get help on this problem. Another one is to view an example. So the view an example also will kind of talk you through a similar problem, but it's not going to require that you put in any inputs. It's just going to explain to you how to do the problem and show you each step. Okay, so that's another great help. Then you can even get more help. There's animation. So some of these problems, not all of them are going to have this. And in the animation, it's going to talk you through how to solve the problem sort of graphically. So down here, if you hit next, it'll start talking to you. The first step is to determine whether the situation involves a left. So anyway, you go through and it kind of talks you through that. Okay, I think we can close that here. And then get more help. StatCrunch, I recommend you skip it. Tech Help is where you can get some help on Excel, and we're going to be looking at using Excel. We are in Office 365, which is a little more enhanced than Excel 2016, but everything in here should still work for us. And we're going to be working with the data analysis tool pack. So this is the one you want to focus on. The textbook's going to talk about this Excel stat. So we're not focusing on that. So when you see that in the textbook, just know that we're not doing that. We're going to be using the data analysis tool pack. Okay, and there's several other software that is often used in our course by other professors at other universities. One thing that you may have is a Texas Instrument Graphing Calculator. So some of the stuff you can do on the calculator. I actually think, believe it or not, it's easier to do it in Excel. So if you can try to wean your way off the scientific calculator onto the Excel, you might find you get a lot of benefit from that, and it's going to help you in the long run. Okay, so that's just some help on how to use the technology. And then the last thing is you can email me. So you can say, hi, I'm doing what it says and I'm getting the wrong answer. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, or whatever, or, can you help me out with this? Like I said, I'm here to help you. I want to support you. So this is a way, if you're in, it's 3 in the morning and you're working on this and you're stuck, you don't have to copy down the whole question. You can email it to me and then I can open it and go directly to that question and see what your issue was. Okay, so that's all in the study plan. So the way the study plan works, and this is outlined in Top Hat where I have the syllabus. I kind of go through and I give, after I go through each component of your grade, and I'll let you do this on your own because I want you to really kind of absorb it and read it carefully. But after I go through this, I kind of go through this class structure and where I talk about the main source of information is in Brightspace. I talk about Top Hat in my lab, as we've already talked about. And then I talk about a recommending learning workflow for success. And in here, it kind of goes through what I've already been talking about. And you'll see that it comes to a section about the pretest in my lab, which will change your study plan, like we already talked about. And about the practice questions and the quiz me questions. So what I recommend that you do is that you go through and you master the topics prior to the quiz and learn that material. I recommend that you work on this every day. Keep working on mastering all the topics. The sooner the better. And I even recommend that you recopy your notes in an organized notebook. People who do this find that they don't actually have to cram for an exam, that they learned it as they went and they already know the material. But it's also a great way to ascertain if there's something you just didn't get, you were confused by, and you can come see me or a tutor and try to get it resolved. Statistics, many of the topics we're covering in statistics will build on themselves. So you don't want to leave areas where you just didn't get it unaddressed, because that will build. And I don't want you to get to a situation where you start to panic and you feel like you're in a big hole of confusion. Okay, let's see. So prior to the quiz, prepare a review sheet by summarizing everything into an outline, which you can use during the quiz. So you're going to have open note quizzes and open note exams. Review the class notes, the e-text, practice the questions in the study plan and in-class activity questions. And review and practice each topic in your review sheet until you have mastery. And then you can do the same thing for the exam, but if you've done it for every quiz, which there, by the way, again, I will be covering this when you go through the syllabus. In here, it explains that there will be a quiz the first day after I finish a chapter. So it'll be a short 10-minute quiz. Of course, I'm not going to cover everything that is in the chapter. I'm just going to randomly select some topics. They will be open note and on my lab. And we will have a lockdown browser. It's called the Pearson lockdown browser, which will block you from accessing any website. That's just to make it fair to everybody and keep us all honest. So I want you to come to those quizzes prepared. The goal is that we will cover the material in many different formats and in different ways of accessing it. So the goal is that you would find what works for you. For studies show that around 80% of students really benefit by writing. So practicing homework problems or recopying notes, organizing it on paper is, for most people, the best way to really learn this. And doing that, the sooner you hear the material, the better. Then there's some percentage, and I forget now what it is, but the people who really learn best by just watching, that's really, really small. I want to say it's like 1% or 2%. So don't think you're in that category unless you're absolutely sure you're in that category. I have a lot of students who follow along on a video or class and they think that means they know it. That means you know it like at the first level, but you need to master it so you can actually teach it. So you want to be able to teach this material. That's how well you want to know it, because then you really have mastered it. So there's in between the small visual learners, photographic memory people, which is very, very small percentage of the population. There's another group that really learn audio by hearing. So if that's you, you may want to read out loud my lecture notes that will be available on Top Hat. Whatever you need to do, you need to figure out the best way to get this information long term into your brain. This is not a course that you can take and then forget about. Like I said, it's a foundational course for everything you'll do in business long after you leave the University of Rhode Island. So I'm here to help, and I want to support you, and I'm hoping that we have a wonderful semester together. I look forward to knowing more about your story and finding out how I can help you achieve success. I'll see you on Wednesday, September 6th.